You are listening to the podcast To Be Single or Not to Be by Shanna Montana, a podcast where we talk about the single life, dating, and relationships so you can make a decision at the end of each episode to be single or not to be. So today's topic is breaking generational curses, boundaries, and finding you before the relationship. And this is a subject that I felt was necessary to have a conversation about because we know that in many of our families, there are a lot of generational curses that still stand, some that we are trying to break through, some that we are the first trailblazers to address them head on to try to work through them. So I felt it was, mandatory that we have this open conversation to talk about them, to talk about setting boundaries in your relationships. And of course, this means family, friends in between, and doing all of that before you make a decision to no longer be a single person, because there's no way that you can go into a relationship unhealed, not knowing how to address these things, not being aware that these things exist, especially in you or a partner, before you can have success with somebody else. So I wanted to put this stuff on the table, and I wanted to absolutely bring in some ladies who you all have heard on the podcast before to help me with this conversation. So here in Nashville, we have Miss Kirsten.
Hey, y'all.
And on the line, we have Miss Danny Sim.
I'm back again, bitches. I'm just
Look, by popular demand.
Yeah.
All right, so ladies, we're going to dive right into the subject matter. So someone tell me, what is your definition of a generational curse? What is that in your eyes, and what impact do you feel that generational curses have on our society present day?
I would say I look at generational curses as being like traditions, habits, ways of being that are just passed down from generation to generation. I mean, I definitely think that back in the day, whenever someone would talk about a generational curse, it was always attached to a sermon because there was some biblical scripture that people wanted to apply it to. But I definitely feel like the Maya Angelou quote, like, when we know better, we do better.
Right.
And so like our whole goal should be to be like a stronger generation.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be offensive to family, because one of the things that I know that I've heard in my family, and like we say to each other, like our whole goal is to be like our parents want us to be better and be stronger and be more equipped.
Right.
So I think with us taking an honest approach to some of the ways that we see generational curses, not only in our families, but in society, and just how we address them and making sure that those are healed and we're whole as we continue to move forward.
Absolutely. What do you think, Sam?
I think generational curses are excuses for behavior that we know is problematic, but nobody wants to address it.
Say that again. Excuses for behaviors that we know are problematic,
but nobody wants to address it. It's like it's like the crackhead uncle or the uncle in the family that, or the whomever in the family with said issue. It's chopped up to like, well, that's just the way they are. It's like the known unknown. Like, we know it's an issue, but nobody wants to talk about it. And because we won't address it, it continues to perpetuate, because nobody wants to talk about that ugly ass elephant in the corner that everybody can see. We just gonna throw a tablecloth over it and pretend like those things didn't happen. And so I think they become curses because we don't address them. We just pretend like they don't exist, or we make excuses for it, or excuses for a behavior or whatever that thing, or action or a pattern of behaviors, and just chalk it up to like, oh, that's just who they are, or it was because of this that happened in their childhood, and that's why they no. Like, no, like, we address those things because it passed on,
and they never
through
stop.
time, through time,
yeah, and it's not okay.
But I also think, Danielle, to kind of, I'm sorry to go ahead.
I won't say nothing.
No, I also think that there are layers to that.
Absolutely.
Because when you talk about, the uncle or the auntie, maybe there's a substance abuse problem. Or y'all remember the movie Soul Food? They used to go slide the tray up on the door to the uncle.
To the uncle.
Never come out. Stuff like that is, I think, a more severe situation. But then I sometimes think that generational curses are not even based on excuses, where people are just like blindly or put it like this, overtly ignoring behavior. I do think sometimes generational curses come up in ways where people don't realize that, you know what, that is not normal.
And that is not okay.
Right.
Like, and I shouldn't
just,
be doing it.
Yeah, but people just do what you've seen that has always been done. And, notoriously, the Black community, we are just,
we are notoriously known for that. And that is what we do. We do what has been seen sometimes, what has been heard. And nobody ever steps outside of the box to say, maybe we should do something different. Or if somebody makes a choice to step outside the box and say, hey, Kirsten, I think we can handle that a different way. It's a problem.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a problem. So then it's taboo. And then we just say, I'm not going to worry about it. That's her problem. And
because we get defensive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. So why do you guys think, and we've talked about this before offline, that we really feel like, for the listeners, we are all millennials, 30 plus, and we feel like we are really, the first generation to step out and start to address these issues that we are facing with generational curses and boundaries and all the above. So why do you guys feel like we are the ones that are the trailblazers, the pioneers to try to do something different when it comes to this stuff?
I think in the current state of just where society is, of course, we had this conversation offline that like self-preservation is something that I don't know that our parents, our grandparents had the luxury to like really be concerned about. I know for a lot of people in my family that have kids, they started having kids. No, it wasn't teenage pregnancies, but it was early 20s.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so for me to be 34, not having children, I have disposable income. I can travel.
Your focus is different.
Yeah, like my whole shifting and priorities are different. I can be a great, Aunt KK.
Yeah.
And I'm with my nieces and nephews. But for the most part, aside from my immediate family and my friends, how I spend my time, how I choose to socialize, how I choose to engage is solely and completely upon me.
Yep.
So I feel like, not to say that everybody, should wait until this place to begin to start a family, or that there's anything wrong if you do early, but I think we're more mindful in how we're able to carry on and like what we want the next phase of our lives to look like.
Yeah. We have more control because of some of the choices that we've made, or just how life has rolled out for us. Because not to say that any of like the examples that you gave, our grandparents or parents, they might not have planned for their life to go a certain way, but it did, and they had to make do with what was going on. But we are now in a different position. We can do things differently. We are now, it's more technology, it's more resources, there's more things out there that they really didn't even have access to back then. So it allows us to look at life from a different lens at this point.
Access and options.
Yeah. Absolutely. What do you think, Sims? Why do you think we are the first ones stepping out? Are you there?
Oh, it just cut back in. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'm gonna say it again. So why do you think we are the first ones stepping out?
I know for me, when I think about like personally what made me look around and be like, this shit is not okay. For me, it was the opportunity and the luxury to go away from home, like be away from my home and have some distance to see how other family functions through the lenses of like my friends' families. Like looking at and every family some level of dysfunction. I don't care what nobody say. Ain't nobody the Huxtables out here. Ain't nobody, like every family has some level of dysfunction.
Even the Huxtables had dysfunction.
All right, honey. People are out all night having big fun. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just looked around and said every family does not function like this. And then I said, well, how many examples of crazy do I need to experience or see or to say, not right?
Yeah.
Like how many times do I have to see this? And so in my family, I think when I think of like what is a major I'm gonna say a challenge. I'm not gonna even speak a curse over my life, but a challenge that my family needs to overcome is like how we handle conflict. And for us, we shut down. We don't talk about it. Something big, I mean huge, I mean life-changing will happen, and we just don't talk about it. And the expectation is that we all show up the next day like everything is fine, like
everything's
like,
okay.
Yeah, like what are you talking about, girl? And inside you're screaming or you still reeling from the events of last night. Like when I think about in the past 3 years, how many traumatic experience I've had with my family that I haven't had, that I've never talked about with them, but I've talked about with you all. I've talked about, with mental health professionals. Like I haven't talked about it with them, my mom,
the people that you need to talk about it with.
Yeah. And so for me, like, that's scary, because like, how does that play over into your marriage? Like, you have conflict in your marriage. Do you not talk to your spouse about it? Do you just pretend like those things didn't happen? And like what do you do?
Yeah.
Because those kind of things play out in other types of relationships that are non-familiar relationships, your work relationships. And so for me, folks are like, oh, you just so super aggressive at work. Like, you just say it, like, because I don't have time to beat around the bush, because I see what beating around the bush should get you. And for me, I just think like that, and that's an area that I'm personally working on in my marriage. Is like, how do I handle conflict with my, like, are we fighting fair? Are we fighting nasty? Like, I ain't got no problem fight nasty, fair, dirty, clean, whatever at work. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
This is it's the Hunger Games at work. But at home, it's like, how do I do this? Because at the end of the night, I love this man. I know he loves me, and I don't want to ever say or do anything that we can never recover from. But
that you cannot come back from. And it happens so many times in our families where we do and say things, and then we have to show up as our best selves the next day and pretend like it's okay. And it's like, I don't do this at any place else in my life. Why in the hell am I doing it with the people that I claim or think to be the closest to me? So that's a great segue, and we're definitely going to come back to it. But tell me, where do you guys think these generational curses stem from, other than what we said? We have the resources, we have some of the options. Where do you think this stuff started? When you think about some of the curses that are in your family, we have to think about where this stuff started and how do you identify it before we can even get to how to fix it.
I think that comes from. Go ahead, Danielle.
I think in my family, like, I think about the things that have caused the most conflict is people feel like they haven't had a chance to get or to have conversations and get clarity on things that they should have gotten in their childhood
20 years ago.
500 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So now here you are as an adult, a fully grown baby. You're an adult baby. You are emotionally
you are
retarded. You are emotionally immature because you feel as if you were owed this conversation or this whatever, and you never got a chance to have that conversation. Not because that person may not have been willing to have it, but you weren't mature enough to say, hey, this is how I experienced this, and I just want to talk about this because, like, I want to know why you made a decision to do blah, 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 blah. And so communication is the stem. When I think about it, my family, lack of communication is the stem of all the conflict in my family, because there are certain members who feel like they don't know why things happened to them or why decisions were made that affected them in their childhood, and they never got the answers that they needed or wanted. And then you're in your adulthood acting out because
about something from 500 years ago.
Yeah, about something from 1965, and the person you need to have the conversation with, unfortunately, is dead and gone. So
and now you're looking at me, and now you're looking at me. They're taking it out on me.
It's rooted in lack of communication, which results in conflict.
I agree 1,000%.
Yeah, I don't know that I've had anything that is that severe, or even if this would show up as a generational curse. But self-care is huge for me. In a way that I communicate, but in a way that I communicate what my needs are, but not necessarily asking others what their needs are. So I think it shows up for me in a way that, I always felt like, okay, if I'm not taking care of myself, or if I'm not good, or if I'm in a place today, is what I, how I would categorize that. I know that I tend to, I'm just going to be at home. Like, my family.
I'm just going to remove myself.
Yeah, I'm just going to remove myself. Like, I know that I'm not good for society today, y'all. So, like, I'm just going to be at the crib. But I think that doesn't always come out in a way where my family's like, well, what's wrong with her? So it's not anything against, like, if anybody knows my family, they are huge entertainers. Like, my mom and dad's house is the turn-up house at all times. Cul-de-sac stays packed. And so my mom, that, like, what Sundays look like for you are not what Sundays look like for me.
Right.
And so I don't have an attitude, or there's nothing wrong, or that I just don't want to be around. But what restoration looks like for me is not the same
for you.
Yeah. And so I think that communicating that, I could tell, even just with preparing for this, that I need to do a better job with communicating that.
Communication.
Because again, if, what is Ayana say? If my cup is not full, you know, then I have nothing to pour over.
I can't pour
over
from empty cup, baby. Okay.
Sure.
So about this too, that comes down to like personalities and differences, because I could have had a hard day that rocked me, and that's gonna send me to bed. And you could have had a hard day that rocked you, but you good for going out to dinner.
Or you good for coming home and raising hell.
Yeah.
So it shows up, you know, in different forms, because you haven't learned how to even manage that. And that might have been something that was handed down to you, that if my day is in a frenzy or my day was hell, I'm going to make everybody's day hell. So I think that when the curses and where they stem from, all of that makes sense. And what stands out the most to me is just that communication piece, because there's so many things present day, in the past, when I have family members who I know may be at odds or not agreeing about something. And it's like, have you talked to that person about it? And I promise you 99% of the time, the answer is no. And it's like, it's great that you use me as a resource, and I'm somebody that you can have as a sounding board, because, you know, I'm able to have a general stance. But I promise you, you are not going to get any resolve. You are not going to be able to heal from this, and you are not going to be able to move on until you talk to that person. And it's disheartening when you come back to a situation 2 weeks later and you know, did you talk to so-and-so, and they still haven't done it. So hopefully today, for the listeners, we'll be able to give you all some tools and tips, and you all are listening to this to know that that's not okay, and we have to proceed in a different way. So let's segue a little bit, guys, to talk a little bit about real life. What do generational curses look like for you in your family right now?
Woo! I'll go first. Where do I start? I'm just
okay.
I think, like I said, like my family, our greatest challenge is communication and conflict management and conflict resolution. Like, I don't think, I will say this, majority of the people in my and our family are not able to sit down and have an adult conversation where you can express yourself without disrespect to the other person, that does not turn into, to be totally transparent, a physical altercation. Like, it gets to the point where folks are trying to put their, like, not trying, putting their hand, and I just, like, fortunately for me, like, I've never been in the mix of that. But it's just sad to watch, because there are little cousins that are younger than me that are watching this. You know what I'm saying? And then when they go out and exhibit those same behaviors, whether that's conflict management, whether that's poor decision making in their adult life, you can't understand why. Well, it's because you modeled for them. You gave them the perfect example of how to go out here and to act a damn fool. And so children don't do what you say, they do what you do. So you can say all day,
what they see.
Be better than me, don't be like me. But if they see you out here stealing and still thriving, or if they see you out here fighting your mama, and then you over here for Sunday dinner at work, like after work, like everything cool after church, then I mean, where are the consequences? So my family is rooted in communication and conflict management, because we've never had a conversation as a family where we've sat down and went, you know, individual by individual, like, what's your, you know, like, what's the issue? And it hasn't gotten to a point where, like, people got to put their hands on folks.
And that absolutely shouldn't be happening. You know, it's like, and it's then, why are we fighting? Like, really, we have to sit
like,
here
for what?
What is that going to? Because guess what, you really,
and there's no coming back from that. Because for me, like, when it gets to that level of disrespect, like, I'm done. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not coming back from this. Like, when that level of disrespect happens, like, I can't come back from that. You know, like, it's
you can't come back the same if you do come back
to choke me out. There's no coming back from me. Or it may not even happen to me, but for me, as I got older, it was hard for me to watch it happen to other people, because what does it say for me to be standing here while this is going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, like, this is the norm. So,
like, I'm saying, it's almost like I'm giving it the okay. Like,
it's like, fine. If I'm standing here and being silent, it's me being complicit. It's me being saying, okay, here we go again. You know, this is what they do, and then tomorrow they'll come back and they'll be, I'm sorry, and we'll pretend like this never happened. But that's not healthy, because I'm still hurt by the comments, the disrespect, the whatever. So the end result for me was to remove myself in relationship from those family members that were doing that, because the emotional drain that it took to deal with them, and the walking on eggshell, and the anxiety of not knowing like what's going to be the trigger for this person
jump off today.
Like,
you showing up for Christmas dinner and you don't know what's about to happen.
Yeah, you don't know what's about to happen. And then I'm thinking about, like, I got a whole husband, and I'm trying to, when we get to the point where we raising a kid, I want to raise my baby in peace, harmony, and love. I don't want my child surrounded in no confusion and no chaos.
And then at this point,
you don't know
the
how
people that are doing it will be
Thanksgiving dinner this year.
Right. And the family will be mad if you make a decision to say, well, you cannot see my child or be a part of my child's life, because the dysfunction that you think is normal is not about to pop off in front of my kid.
Right.
I totally agree. And I think that is the risk that those family members take with not respecting the boundaries. I don't know if that's jumping too far.
No, it's fine.
When we talk about, generational curses, I don't necessarily think that this is an issue because we've had that any type of conflict that has come up with it. But I think that most Black families, including mine, like, we don't talk enough. We sit down, we celebrate, we support one another, we do all of those things and enjoying each other's company. But like, I don't know that, like,
we don't talk enough.
Yeah, we don't talk enough. And I think that's most Black families.
Yeah.
Like, I told my mom one day, I was like, hey, come meet me for dinner. And like, I was telling her, like, hey, we were talking about a situation. I said, well, maybe therapy, because I am, and I think this is another myth with Black people, that we are extremely churched and Jesus is going to fix everything. I think that prayer is amazing, but I also believe in qualified health professionals.
And therapy is amazing.
Okay.
And therapy is amazing too.
Okay.
And so I shared with her that I went to therapy, a couple of years ago.
And what was her response?
And it's an ongoing thing. She was surprised. Not necessarily surprised, like shocked, like she wouldn't believe that I would go. But I think it was surprising to her because I didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
Because for me, that's my own internal work.
Yeah.
It was around the same time, like, my biological father had died. My grandfather died. I moved to a new city, graduated from college. Like, just
it was a
life changes.
It was a lot.
Yeah. And so I think that it's good to sit down with someone who's neutral, who's unbiased. And therapy is great, guys, even when there are no problems, because you can talk through your thoughts.
Yeah.
And so I think that was kind of like an aha moment for me whenever I was telling her that, I think we need to talk more.
Yeah.
So I think it's dope because that conversation opened up a lot of different things. We're going on a family vacation over the summer, and she suggested red table talk for the women in our family.
That's awesome. Which I ain't trying for our family vacation.
Yeah, like, I
wouldn't have thought about that.
Yeah, as much as and I think that's the thing too, is like, with our generation, I don't know that, I think it's great that we're opening up what is the word I'm looking for? Open up the lines of communication to have those types of conversations. But again, that's not a conversation that I would have naturally had.
And it sounds like something I recently saw, and I told my mom this like last week. Someone posted on Instagram about how you should want to know more about your parents or family members by just sitting them down to have a conversation with them. Because as you get older, we'll have conversations and my mom will say certain things. And I'm like, I never knew that about you. And it's like, if you really just really sat down with your parents and had a full conversation with them. Like, I'm not saying you got to give me all the low down, dirty details of your life, but what was your, other than what I know, what was childhood like? What was high school like? What was it like when you got with my father? Like, what attracted you to him? What happened here, and here? And that can open so many doors for you to just have a better understanding of why a person operates a certain way as well. And that could be one of the first steps into breaking a generational curse, because now I know how this person operates. I know a little bit more about how to handle them, and maybe they will be more open to whatever my suggestions are for them to move past the situation. But I think that opening up, like you just said, is one of the first things that we have to do. Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about those generational curses, and for me, I would say, Sims, I absolutely agree. When you talked about communication, I think that's something in our family that sometimes people, and I would say, I'm Black, I know Black people, so I'll say Black families.
We commune with
we commune with one another, that We just really don't communicate the way that we should. We let things fester. The next thing I would say generational curses looks like in my family is addiction of different things. I've never really sat down with anybody in my family of the people I know have had an addiction to find out, how did you get into that life? What's them? What happened to you that might have triggered you to start using drugs or drinking alcohol? For the most part, we don't know. And that's one of those things, like you said, we just kind of, that's Uncle Pete. That's just him. He drunk. That's what's going on. But Uncle Pete been drunk for 30 years and nobody found out why. So to even talk about it, or somebody got some story about what happened, but nobody really knows. And then another thing I would say, in my family would be just like a poverty mindset with certain things. Ooh. I always tell people, don't call yourself broke unless you want to be broke. None of us, I would say, are the richest people in the world, but I feel like I do well, I thrive, and I want the people around me to have that same mindset. I truly believe that if anyone on this line right now wanted to go and run for president of the United States, well, clearly with our president, it ain't that hard, but my mindset is that if you wanted to go and run for president of the United States, or you wanted to go and become an astronaut next week, starting the program, I have no doubt that any of us could accomplish whatever the goal is that we have in front of us, but it's due to a mindset, and that's what poverty is. So I think that that's a part of generational curses. You think that, my parents were broke, I'm going to be broke, I don't have nothing, it's okay, I'm not trying to do better. So trying to break that cycle of your thinking. Do you want to do better? You say you do, but do your actions line up? Actually, do you even believe that you can do better? So you have to break. That's definitely a cycle that we have to break. So tell me, why are they so hard to break? We are out here trying to be the trailblazers. We are out here doing things that are different. And I think we are setting great examples, and we are breaking curses, and cousins and siblings and nieces and nephews are looking up to us. But why are they so hard to break? Because it seems like it's a forever and ongoing cycle.
Because familiarity is too easy.
It's kind of like going back to that ex you're not supposed to be with. Yeah. It's just it's comfortable.
You know it. There's not too much that you're going to have to do to shake yourself out of that box. I sit and I think about, when we talk about not necessarily poverty mindset, like we grew up middle class,
and we did too. But it's crazy that certain family members have that mindset, and I don't even think they know they have it. So
it's awareness. It's awareness. I definitely would say, like, forever in a day, I remember, like, my sister and we would hear my dad and say, hey, make sure your credit's good. Make sure that you save. Make sure that, you don't pay a bill 30 days late.
Yeah.
And I got out here in this world and wowed the hell out. Because though he told me that those were the things to do, baby, let me tell you something. At TSU on their campus, when they came up with a credit card application so you can get that free Subway, that was me.
Yeah.
All the cards. I had them.
Yeah.
I had them. But I think he told us those things, but he didn't actually, like,
show an example.
Show us. Like, he was good.
Okay.
But it just didn't translate to us to, like, sit down with you while you pay bills and say, this is what you're looking for.
But did he ever sit you guys down to do that? He might have said, don't pay the bills.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
He did say it, but we never seen it in action.
Gotcha. Okay.
So he was doing it. I think sometimes generationally it's the just here, I'm telling you, but I'm not necessarily showing you.
Yeah.
So I'm showing you by example, because ain't none got cut off in here like we could. But I didn't know how to like manage my finances.
Yeah. We talked about that. Managing finances, handling business. I feel like handling business. There were certain things that I would say, like, after I graduated, I remember it was an instance of something that needed to be paid off of mine. And I feel like I had gotten the worst advice from somebody in my life. And fortunately, the internet was booming by then. So I took it upon myself to get online, do research. And to this day, if you need your credit cleaned up, call me. I know what to do. So I self-taught how to handle my business, how to handle my finances, how to clean up my credit. I did all these things on my own. But you're right. Nobody said, we heard what to do, but nobody sat us down and taught us really how to handle our business. And I think that's part of why it is hard to break. Familiarity, people not really taking the time. It's like, do as I say, not as I do.
And sometimes it's, I want you to do what I'm saying you should do, but not, hey, let me put another element in there, another layer in there to sit down and you can fill out these checks this month and I'm gonna check your work.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
That kind of thing, and that's what should be happening.
And to
What do
add,
you think, Danielle?
yeah, and to add to what Kirsten said, I think exposure is everything. So if you've never seen a healthy marriage, if you've never seen somebody, successfully managing their budget and doing what Kirsten just said, showing you how to budget and showing you how to, pay bills, how do you know how to do that? So unless you have the withal to look around and say, this shit ain't working, like the lights cut off of here every month, or such going upside such head every month. That's her whole husband. They've been married 20 years and they've been fighting all 20 years. Like, if you don't have enough get up and go to look around and say this shit ain't working, if you're not exposed to better, how would you know how to do better? You see what I'm saying? Like, how would you know?
Yep.
So people just do what y'all said. Sense. You just repeat what was taught
about
to you.
Mirroring.
Yeah.
You see behavior that's mirrored.
In that communication. It's a lack of it. Like I said, people in my house just argued and fought. So I thought that's what we supposed to do. People in my house
thought that's how we do.
We blow a check.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we do. We box. They blow a check when they get paid. Bills not paid. Okay, that's what I thought we do. Don't check my credit report. I thought that's what we do. It's true. If you had no one to show you, and you hear it where you may be talking to your parents and they say, well, that's what mama did, or that's what grandma did. I did the best I knew how. And I get that. Sometimes it is, you did the best that you knew how. But I think at this point in 2019, we just have to make sure we are trying to do better. And that leads me to ask, what made, you ladies really want to be trailblazers in your family to start breaking these curses?
I think like right now, like talking about like we talk about it in our friend group, all the time. I don't know. Well, I do know. I couldn't have the conversations that I have with y'all, like outside of my mom. I don't know anybody else in my family that I can say, hey, this is a problem and we need to sit down and figure out how we gonna change the trajectory of our family. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need you to step in and support me on this. There isn't a soul outside of my mama that I can say that to, and in confidence know that person's gonna be whatever that is, 110%. You know what I'm saying? Because people just don't have the intellectual and emotional bandwidth to have the conversation. And that's something that I just had to come to terms with last year. Like, I may never get the answers to those questions. I might never get the apology. This person may not never change, how they act and their actions. But what I can change is my involvement in it. And so,
you can choose your participation.
Yep,
exactly.
I think too, Danielle, it's not necessarily that people don't have the emotional capacity or bandwidth. I think that people sometimes live in that defensive state.
Yeah.
And so whether or not they are committed to make changes will affect how they respond to your request. And so if they're not in that place, again, all you have to do, you choose how you want to participate in that situation. For me, when we talk about how to end the cycle and break generational curses, I agree with Danielle's response is talking.
Yeah.
Mindfulness and being aware. One of the things which I love, like having these conversations, even with my siblings, is one of my younger sisters, my biological father had an issue with alcohol and substance abuse. And my sister is very vocal about not being like more than a social drinker, like very occasionally. And she's in college.
Yeah.
And honey, I know what I was doing in college.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, she's just adamant and scared to even really like drink.
She doesn't want that to.
Yeah, she doesn't want that for herself because she saw up close and personal like what that looked like for her. I'm more of the mindset that, for me it's about choice and it's about decision. And so I drink socially and for medicinal purposes engage.
Yeah.
But I don't have the same fear that she has.
Yeah.
But that's a big thing for her.
Yeah.
So she just watches.
Yeah. Rightfully so. I mean, it's like it's a thing that's happened in the family. It is there. She's seen firsthand. She knows, and I don't think that, and that's not even a bad thing. I know you aren't saying that it is, but I don't even think that's a bad thing. If you think that addiction runs in the family, and I just want to make sure that I don't become that, I'm just going to just stay away from it. Yeah. And I don't see anything wrong with it because it's kind of like the saying, it was Bishop TD Jakes said it, that it was two guys and they grew up and their dad was an alcoholic. And one brother became an alcoholic and the other brother never touched a drink in a day in his life. And when you ask both of them, why did they do what they did? And the answer was the same, because my dad was an alcoholic. Mm-hmm. So you can make that choice to do, like we talked about, what it is that you saw parents said, or you can make a choice to say, hey, I don't like the way that turned out, so let me do something different. Yeah. So right now we are going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. All right. So we want to get right back into it. And I posed the question to you ladies. Do you think that we can break generational curses ourselves, or does it take for your entire family to be involved? And if so, what does that look like?
I think you can't break it alone. I mean, you need your family. Like,
you need your family.
If we're looking at taking a span over, generations, so that's my parents, my aunts, and then looking at my grandparents and just doing things differently. Like, it can't just be you. I can say, oh, I'm on this solo journey to try to make sure that my life is just
amazing.
Yeah, like that's not
what this is.
Yeah, when you think about generational curses, it is inclusive of your entire family unit.
Right.
And so, like, one of the examples that I think about is, I didn't realize until the other day that, like, yes, okay, my grandparents were well-to-do, owned the business. My grandfather had a really good job at the steel mill. My mom and my aunt, like, they never wanted for anything. Mm-hmm. Like, they both enrolled and started school, and for whatever reason, they both did not finish in their young ages. They got married, had kids, things of that nature. And so when I thought about it, me being the oldest of the grandchildren, I was like, dang, I was the first to graduate from college. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think about it.
Didn't even realize you broke a generational curse right there.
Okay.
Didn't think about it. But I say, like, education was always something that my mom and my aunt, like, made very, and my dad, obviously my mom and dad and my aunt, like, made very important to, like, myself and my cousins. And so we pretty much all knew, like, we're going to college.
Absolutely.
It wasn't a thought. And so I loved it, like, even after I graduated and a couple of my cousins, like, my mom, my aunt, they both went back, got bachelors, got masters. Like, one of my aunt's working on her doctorate. My mom's working on her master's. So, like, things like that, when you look at the lineage, it's like, okay, it was my grandparents. Now my parents have degrees, my siblings, my cousins. Like, so I think that within itself is like breaking a generational curse.
It's
so I'm super proud of them that they did that.
You have to be, and that shows also why you can't do it alone. And that's one thing that stands out. Like, everyone knows in our family, we call it my grandma. And even though she didn't go to college, education was the most important to us. So, my older sister graduated from college. I graduated. My middle sister, basically in our family, everybody has gone on to get their bachelor's, going to get masters, continuing on. So with that being something that, that's a positive thing. You have to look at the generational curses being broken. And then it sets the standard for when you bring a child into this world. They know that even if we have these, these other areas of opportunity, that this is one area we kind of solid on, and this is what we're going to do going forward. So, Sims, what do you think? Can you do it by yourself, or does it take the whole village, the whole family to break these curses?
See, okay, so I believe that if you have the whole family, if the whole family is in on it, that's great. But
if not,
you don't stay stagnant and just keep on doing the fuck shit that's been going on for the last 50 years. So, like,
I agree.
If I know, for me, one of the things that when Kirsten was talking about her, like, one of the things that I just realized in the last 30 seconds of this conversation is that I'm the only great grandchild to not have kids out of wedlock.
Yeah, like, so that's one right there. It's like we're doing things, not even realizing that some of them are breaking those curses or setting a new standard.
And I was super intentional about that, because I could see the effects of not having a stable relationship with the mother and or the father of your kids, and how that plays out on their kids' life. So the last thing I aspired to be in this world was a baby mama, baby daddy situation, or in a marriage where it's really just you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't you in a legal marriage, but, like, in terms of a partnership, like, it's non-existent.
So basically, just to be out here to have a child and not have a partner to help you, whether it's married or not, or to be in a situation of a relationship where it really is it's a shit situationship, as we call it. Like it's a relationship, as they call it. So that's what you don't want to happen, and I get that.
And I'll even say, Danielle, like, we have these conversations, and no one, this again, ladies and gentlemen, this is not me saying that there's anything wrong if you are a single parent.
Right, not at all.
Not at all.
It's
but
your choice, not mine.
For a fact, shut up. I know for a fact, part of the reason why I do not have a child, I mean, I've never been pregnant or anything like that, but I have been terrified about being a single mom.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, nobody
because you're right. Hats off. I always tell moms, hats off. Like, I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
Like, so what moms have to do, and especially if they have to do it alone.
Yes, ma'am.
They have my highest salute. But that is terrifying to me as well. Yes. And mind you, you could get married, have a child, and God forbid, your husband could die in a car accident. You don't know what's going to happen. But if I can control it on the front end, if I can, I thank God I did not procreate with any of my exes.
Because Lord knows, stand in the gap for me, please.
Yeah.
Somebody pray.
Yeah.
But I think that is a real concern. I think because we are in this age and at this place where could I financially, I could take care of a child. I don't want to do it alone.
I don't want to.
And so I think that, when we think about and when we talk about, like, it's something that you can't avoid, but you can avoid.
Yeah. You can make the odds be in your favor, because I watched, my mom and dad were married, but they got divorced when I was in second grade. And my mama, like, for years had a full-time ass job and a part. Like, my mama worked 2 jobs up until like I was in undergrad to support me and my brother. And I used to be like, I don't know how my mama getting, like, reflecting on my childhood. Like, my mama would go to work at 5, get off at 4, come home, change clothes, feed us, get us to whatever rehearsal we had to get to. And then she was off to her part-time job to come home, and start up. Like, I don't think it's impossible, but I do think it's hard because I've seen what the sacrifices that my mama had to make for me and my brother.
Absolutely.
And if I can, I'm like you, if I can make the odds in my favor, have something, then that's what I'm gonna do. I just don't want to sign up for the struggle. You know what I'm saying? Like,
the struggle that we've seen so many times, and it's a curse that we are breaking and want to break. And I think I really like how you put it earlier that, you need the family in order to break most generational curses. But sometimes if you find that you have to stand alone in doing it, that is okay as well. Because like you said, you don't want to stand in the foolery and just be like, oh, this is okay. Nobody else wants to change anything. But guess what? I'm going to change for the better. You all can join the ride if you want to, but your encounters with me are going to be different than they are with anybody else. Yeah. And that leads us right into boundaries and generational curses, because I think a huge generational curse that plagues many Black families would be a lack of boundaries between one another. And when I say that, I'm referring to, families just doing what has always been done, not trying to change, quote unquote, how things were, how they are, and, and crossing of the lines between parents and child when it comes to what parents may impart upon their kids or lack thereof. So I know there was a lot that we need to get into, but so we want to break that down. So when it comes to generational curses and boundaries, what role do you feel they play with one another?
I think they jump rope partners, baby.
double
One is double, like, they double dutch partners, baby. They are in sync. You hear me? Because if there are no boundaries, honey, then it's a free for all.
Yeah.
People will do anything and expect to be able to bounce back and come back from there, and she'll be fine in the morning, or that's just family, that's just the way they are. Like, those statements really make me angry, because again, my thing's like, it's an excuse. You saying the way something is an excuse for whatever this behavior is to keep happening to me. Yeah. And so the people that it's affecting. So what do we do? Okay, like, do we just take it? You know what I'm saying? Like what do we do? But I think they go hand in hand. Yeah. I mean, one can't exist without the others, and it happens because nobody is saying, hey, this is a hard no for me.
Yeah.
And here's the things that I'm not going to be able to participate in. And if this continues to happen, I will opt out of this situation. You can opt out of family. I'm a living witness. You can opt out of some family
I swear,
situation.
I read that today online. Somebody put in a post, it was like a mental health page, and it was a list of family members, and it was like, you don't have to stay connected to mom, dad, sister, brother, cousin.
So don't.
Like, you
So
are
don't.
going to be blood related to them forever, but you don't have to stand there
Sure don't,
and
baby.
take what they are doing to you.
You sure don't. You sure don't. Because I have no issue walking away
Yeah.
from any type of, at this age, for what I give and in any relationship, like I show up 110%. So I'm not going to accept any type of disrespect.
Yep.
I'm not going to accept somebody trying to mess up my energy, because you got to think, like, for me, like, if it's something going on in my family, like, that shit bleeds over into my home, and my energy and attitude may be effed up.
Yeah.
For my home and my husband and the people at work looking at me like I'm crazy because I'm all scrunched up in the face because it's some bullshit going on in Memphis.
Yeah.
And now I done lost my bag and lost my husband because I'm trying to help y'all.
Yeah.
With y'all bullshit. And then when I need somewhere to go, who can I call to say, let me come lay on your couch?
Yeah. Who's gonna help me?
So guess what? I'm going to protect my energy, my peace, and all of that. And if that means I have to opt out of you, guess what? That's fine. I love you. Nothing changes. I love you, but I cannot be in relationship with you, and that's okay.
Yeah. And it's okay. And that it is so important. Everything that you just said, and also that we recognize when it comes to boundaries, that family has to realize that just because we are our family, and just because you say said person may be going through something, and you are the person that may be the strong one in your family, that does not give you permission to beat that other person up with your issues. It's like, when it comes to boundaries, I think that family members need to really, it's like, stop, drop, and roll. Stop, drop, and think. Even though I am going through this situation and I need some help right now, I need a resource. How is this situation going to affect that other person before I call them or walk up on them or pull them into it?
Let me tell you something. If I started doing this with my sister and I talk a lot. And so, just being mindful, because I want people to be mindful when they call me, is I would say, my sister and my cousin, hey, do you have a minute? Are you in a space where you can talk to me about something? I need to vent.
Yeah.
Or
make it clear. Don't just start talking.
Yeah. Don't just start talking, because you don't know what
the hell.
Yeah.
Like, everything can appear to be peachy keen, but you don't know that I'm over here fighting air like Trey and Boys in the Hood.
Yeah.
Like, I am at my wit's end today.
And then you call and sent me over the edge, but I'm sitting there trying to be strong for you, and I'm about to lose it. So now guess what? I got my energy and your energy after this.
Yep.
And guess
then
what?
10 months later,
No, but then you hang up the phone, or you hang up the phone, and you're like, I feel so much better, and I'm over here.
Or a year later,
and honestly, I told, like,
here's your tape. You on some 13 reasons why shit, because you just took yourself out because you just tired of people like treating you like the city dumpster. Just coming in, just dumping. They ain't ask you how your day going, what's going on. You could be over here, lost job, homeless. They don't give a fuck. As long as they got an opportunity to emotionally throw up on you, they good.
And it's done. So tell me, how did your sister, and how did she receive that?
When my sister and my cousin, I talk to probably like the most frequently, and then my sister will be honest and say, like, I don't have a moment right now. Like, I just got home from work, I'm getting the kids together. I say, cool, understand, call me back later.
Yeah.
But at that point, like, if I do have a situation, I'm either work through it, cooled off, or whatever the situation is, but I can't be mad at that.
Yeah. So because she respect your boundaries, and you respect hers.
Yeah. Yeah. And I may call my cousin, and my cousin is like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Because she'll do the same with me.
Yeah.
But if somebody says that hey, it's not a good day, I can't call you back, I'm in the middle of something, then I can't, I can't be mad.
You got to roll with it. But we also, as people, have to learn that our own boundaries, but we also have to, like you said, speak up for yourself. And I think sometimes I've been guilty of feeling bad. Like I'm a helper and a nurturer by nature. So when somebody calls me, it's like, you know, you got a minute to talk, and you know, and I haven't started doing that. You know, what is it about? What talk about what? You know, so
get real nervous.
Yeah, you get nervous.
Yeah.
You know, and at that point,
just to give some sort of like segue,
a precursor. Yeah. People call like, where you at? I'm out. Oh, yeah, girl, my house just burned down. What? Wait a minute. Like, I told you I was at church. You know.
Yeah.
So it's like for me, being just a nurturer and a helper by nature, I can be in an inopportune spot where I should not be taking a call that I know is going to be a detriment to everything I have going on, and I still do it. So we have to recognize people that the boundary is there for people to respect you and not try to impart things upon you. But the boundary is also there for ourselves. We have to stand strong in what that boundary is and not just want to put on our help them hat every time somebody calls us.
Yeah. My family kind of jokes. She jokingly like knows and says like, "Oh man, if you want somebody to turn up, it's cursing."
Yeah.
Or if you want somebody to just like, you know, sometimes I might have been having a good day, and my sisters is like, you know, I need you to cut somebody out for me, and I got you.
Yeah. Look.
Yeah.
But what I like will put out is different than what I take in, and so for me, I'm gonna tell y'all I'm so guilty of this up until I say like the last couple of years. Like no has been the hardest word.
It is. And I used to not understand when people used to say things like, I struggle to say no. I can say no in a lot of spaces. No. But with family, it's the hardest no for me to get. It is
the hardest no. I would tell friends, I would tell dudes, I would tell co-workers, like I'm very, you know, I think
niggas.
Yeah, look, I try to say dudes because I ain't one niggas, you know, but you know, it's so easy for me to say no in a lot of other spaces, but with my family, it's like harder, or you know, it's a let me see what I could do, or you know, hold on, like I would
let me figure it out.
And so part of this, and I don't know if this is anybody else, but I do kind of feel like this, like being the oldest, and like, you know, back in the day, and I don't fault my parents for this, like this is just, I feel like classic family structure, like being the oldest, like be a good role model for your siblings, or take care of your siblings, or look out for this person. I feel like as the oldest, like that turned me into like the ultimate like people pleaser, and it turned me into the person who is just like always, I gotta make sure everybody's good, I gotta make sure, you know, so and so, you need this, or you good with this, or let me help you with this. And so I feel like within the last couple of years, I've just gotten to a better place of saying no. I do recognize that sometimes no don't always come out real cool. You know, because you know, and not in a like explosive way, but like just a withdrawn, like I'm gonna kind of chill and be by myself way, because I know that I put out a lot, but like I need a minute to restore and fill up, and that looks differently for me than what it may look like for somebody else.
Absolutely.
You know, and I also feel like whenever we talk about like how to, you know, navigate those family dynamics and wanting to set boundaries, I feel like oftentimes when we talk to our parents or grandparents or whoever that family member is, it may be an elder, that, you know, it's almost like they see you, I've heard this and experienced it, that you speaking up for yourself is a challenge or
a disrespect.
Disrespect.
You shorten your days
because you can
hell.
You can place familiar boundaries, familial boundaries respectfully. I'm not disrespecting you because I'm telling you that I get what you're going through and you need someone to talk to, but I cannot be that person right now. Or if you decide I can't be that person ever, it is nothing wrong with that. And I think that's something that, especially I would say parents, grandparents, whoever, you have to get that out of your mind. I think that is, and it's almost selfish. You have to get that out of your mind. It's not completely about you. Everybody goes through things, but it comes down to, you know, how we communicate, what those things are, what boundaries you put up, and really what are you doing to help yourself in these situations. So it's like if you have coping skills in place, if you have therapy like we talked about, if you have a best friend, whatever the case may be, you may have to go through those steps or those layers of getting help before you come to me and have to even think about breaking that boundary. Because I get that family and friends, that's what we are here for. We are here to help, but we cannot be everybody's end all be all. Because that's how you get wore out. It's too tiring.
When the plane go down, they tell you to put your mask on first.
Okay.
Yeah. Put yours on first. So why do you think that happens? Since you touched on it with, like, say, parents, child, siblings, why does that happen where that may be imparted upon you and it's not something that you want?
Because though the roles are still the same as, father, daughter, mother, daughter, grandmother, grandson, aunt, niece, uncle, niece, whatever, we're adults.
We are,
and
so is it like the role is erased? You're just another adult?
I think the role is still there. And so that's where conversations are had with respect, because the way that I would approach my family is not the way that I would approach my coworker.
Right.
Or, somebody who has, I think crossed the boundary that is not in a familial lane.
Yeah.
But I think that, and I've talked to other people about this who have experienced this as well with their families. Like, it is not a challenge. It is not a sign of disrespect. It does not mean that your word is no longer good here. I can still take wisdom from, and understanding and listen. And I'm still your whatever that relationship is. But like, for myself, I just need a minute. Yeah. And my new thing is, I'm just not able to do that right now.
Yep.
Or like, this is something I can't do. I just can't.
Yeah. I just can't. And you don't have to give a reason.
It's a hard no.
I just can't do it right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I just being sensitive to that, because like, I also feel like, now if you out here just being disrespectful and just wilding out, like, no, that message is not going to be conveyed in a way where you want somebody to understand that this is my, hard no, or this is my not right now. Like, if you out here cussing and acting a whole fool, then that's not going to be received. It's actually going to be counterproductive to what you're trying to accomplish. So I think that if everything at the end of the day is done with respect and in love, I feel like at this point, there's a lot of conversations that we should be able to have. People talk about millennials, but let me tell you something. We are millennials, but the oldest millennial is like 38 years old. Yeah. That's like 81. Yeah. People talk about millennials and expect that they're like the 90s babies.
Not at all.
No, like, we are whole human beings that are grown.
Getting it done.
AF.
And you should be able to communicate and have these conversations respectfully, and it's up to the person that you are dealing with to receive it.
And my feelings are my own.
Yeah, they are. It's like, you can't tell me my experience of you. It was my experience.
Okay.
Yeah, and people have to, I think, if you are coming respectfully, you're coming with love. People have to let their guard down, let their defenses down. And when they say a hit dog gonna holler,
yeah,
you might holler, but we gonna push through it. You can't just sit in it. So, Sims, do you think that, where do you think that comes from when we talk about, whether it's parent, child, sister, whatever the case may be, that those lines kind of get crossed where we impart our lives upon people that we probably shouldn't, or that we need to put a boundary?
I think, and I'll talk to the parent child one, like, we don't, like, as the child is getting older, you really have to think about the role between parent and child kind of changes. Like, number one, you're an adult. And I just kind of think, that comes with a certain level of respect for the decisions that you make and how you want to live your life, especially when it's not affecting that parent, or especially if you're not asking for that parent to, support you like by finances, housing you, feeding you. And then we don't talk about like how the dynamic of the relationship changes as parent and child gets older. And so that's something that me and my mama just talked about last year for the first time. It's like, I had to have that very same conversation that Kirsten had. Like, mama, I have a high pressure, high demand, like, job. Like, I have never even, I think I've taken a lunch twice in the 2 years that I've been here. And so when I'm at work, I have to focus on work. You can't call me. I got to work. Like, you can't call me with the daily download, as I call it, from what's going on back in Memphis and who's doing what. Because has that relevant to my life? Because y'all know I'm not putting money on books. I'm not doing that. Yeah. I'll buy a book. I'll help a little cousin in college who's trying to do the right thing, buy a book. But I'm not gonna, I don't want to hear about who's in jail, who doing this, who doing that. That's not relevant into my experience. So I just can't. And so you don't think about, like, how do I at 33 respectfully tell my mama, hey, I would really appreciate this. It's an emergency. Just don't call me at work with a daily download. We'll have a daily download when I get home. And that way, you know, I'm not rushing to get off the phone. I can hear what you're saying, and you can have all the time you need. But between the hours of 8 and 5, don't call unless somebody has literally died. Please don't call me. And then don't even call me then. Call 911 first, because there's nothing that I can do from where I live.
You know, and how did she receive that?
Because at first she was like, you know, my mom's, she's like me. She's a little dramatic. So at first she was like, oh, well, I just won't call you at all. You know, I have to post her like I do my students. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I want to hear from you. I want to be in contact with my mother. You know, we get on each other's nerves because we're so much alike. But when I think about our relationship overall, we have a great relationship, even though we have our challenges. And so I can say one thing and she'll hear something else, you know, because she's dramatic. Yeah. And so I just have to repeat myself. And then she finally got it. So when she does call me now, it's, how you doing? What's going on there? Or we have our little daughter time on the phone when I'm walking to and from work on the days that I walk to work. So, you know, we had to find our lane, but we weren't talking about like how the dynamic shift, like when the child is getting older, the parent is getting older, like life changes. Like I have a more high demanding job. I don't have as much leisure time. So how do we talk about how this affects our relationship? We don't talk about. I had to initiate that conversation with her. She didn't initiate that conversation. And so
because what we talked about earlier, communication. She wouldn't even know how to initiate, and she didn't see nothing was wrong with what she was doing.
You know, my mom was fortunate enough to live and be in close proximity with her grandmother, who raised her for really all of her life up until my grandmother passed. And see, my experience is the opposite. I haven't went back to Memphis to live since I left for college in 2003. You know, so when I come home, when we interact with each other, I'm literally a different person. And it's like we having to get to know each other all over again, because I'm not the 17-year-old that she sent off to college, and she's not the 30-something mama that I left back in Memphis, you know. So we have to learn each other and talk about like how we're changing and what that looks like. Like communication. Like. You know, had we not talked about that, I could have resulted in not answering the phone for her whenever she called, because she was getting on my nerves and I wasn't mature enough to say, hey, we need to put some boundaries on this thing, you know. Or she could have resulted in like not calling me or not communicating with me at all, because I said, don't call me between the hours of 9 and 5, you know. So communication. Yeah.
This week's Living Single question is, can you or should you give a cheater a second chance? My answer is going to be a short one, and the answer is no. In my mind, I feel like if you are making a commitment to be in a monogamous relationship, no issue, problem, or thing should make you step outside of that relationship. And if you feel like you need to step outside of that relationship, then you don't need to be with that person. And I really just feel like if a person has an issue that's that big that they are going to step away, just be honest, be upfront. I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. I want to see other people. I want to do other things. A person may not like it, but they eventually will have to respect it. And I know that this may be an unpopular opinion, but now that I have found my value and my worth and know what it is that I want, need, and desire in a mate, there is no way that I'm going to say that cheating is not a deal breaker, because right now in the space I'm in, and I think this is my forever space, cheating is not going to be given a second chance in my book. So I know that everybody may not agree with this, but this is my answer. If someone cheats, they need to go and they need to stay away permanently. So I really think that it was a great point you made with how, you know, when talking to your mom, you guys were able to communicate a boundary that you had set, something that you needed, so that it really just wasn't miscommunication or somebody got mad and didn't talk about it, because I've encountered that in my family before, where I say one thing, then what the person says back to me is not what I meant at all. So it's all about making sure that it's kind of like at work. When I talk to people and at the end of a sentence, a lot of times I'll say, does that make sense? So I say that now to family members. When I'm talking to them, does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying? Is that because I'm a direct person? I'm not going to beat around the bush or sugarcoat it or say something and mean something else. I'm going to be very direct about it. And I think that another piece you pointed out is that it's really important is how, as we're as kids, we are now adults and we are growing and we are changing, we are elevating. So I probably, maybe 5 years ago, you did want to sit around and talk, get the daily download of what was going on in Memphis. And now you're in a different space where it's like,
I got that kind of time.
Yeah, I had that kind of time. I'm not interested in that. I want to talk about different things. I want to talk about how we're about to get this money as a family. I want to talk about this, that, and the third. So I think, and I've said this to my mom before, that parents have to realize, I'm the youngest of my siblings, that I'm your baby, but I'm not a baby anymore. That I am a full-grown adult. So my wants, needs, desires, boundaries, all of that is going to look a lot differently even a year ago than it does today. It may look different tomorrow, but be ever changing. And so be open to that and receive you, because I'm going to tell it to you in love. And I think that it really points out how a huge boundary, I think, that people in the world and families in general have to understand. We cannot, especially when it comes to said parent or child primarily, we cannot question our children's life decisions. And what I mean by that is that parents or just elder family members super guilty of talking to women, like I would say myself and Kirsten, when you gonna get a man? When you gonna get married? When you gonna have a baby?
Now when you gonna have a baby?
Yes. Yeah, you married, so now I ask you when you gonna have a baby. Then you have a baby, ask when you gonna have another one. It's like, when you gonna come help me babysit these?
That baby question takes me on.
So it's like it's never ending, and you have to understand that is a boundary. Respect it, because there's so many variables that go into it. Because you ask a person when they're gonna have a kid, I might be trying right now and I'm not successful at it, or I maybe find out that I can't have kids, or you've asked me, when you gonna get married? I haven't found a emotionally stable enough man to marry. Help me out, sis. You got somebody
to in a direction.
I'm open to it.
I will say that when people do, because I just recently had this conversation. My sister is pregnant, and so we were talking about like birthing methods. Like she's like, oh, I would love to I'm thinking about having a natural birth. And I'm like, that is so dope. If I ever have kids, like that's what I would want to do. And I think that, of course, people mean this so well in love. My dad was like, you can't say if, you got to say when. And I was like, well, between me and Jesus, I don't know that I want to. I go back and forth with whether or not I have a desire to mother.
And that's perfectly fine. And that's a boundary people have to respect.
There's not anything wrong with it. My mom's friends will always ask that, oh, when you gonna have a baby? Yeah. And I'm like, I scrambled my eggs this morning, put a little cheese, little sauce, a little ham in there, and I ate them. Yeah. Please don't ask me anymore about my uterus.
Yes. Right.
And I think people mean so much well in it, and sometimes
or just want to have something to say.
Yeah, sometimes
just say how
asking somebody about when they get married, when they're gonna have kids, or like,
when you gain
some weight. These are not opening questions. These are not social cues. You can ask me how my job is. You can ask me how my last trip was. You can ask me anything else. But I think people don't realize, and I don't think that's just family. I think that's generational
period.
Like people do not understand and respect, because for me to say, if I were to say, like you said, some people cannot have kids. Some people have been trying and have had miscarriages. I could turn around, if I turned around and told you in the midst of you telling me, well, give us some time, baby, keep living, I'm barren. If I turn around and say that, then that's an example of the shock and awe on your face, because you are crossing a line that you should not be crossing with asking me about my reproductive organs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I just think that people, in that case, I love to just like tell people about their business, but I think just trying to be respectful to,
I do.
And my dad didn't mean it in that way. I think he's just really excited about just having a bunch of grandchildren. So that wasn't towards him. But I just say in general, just how we proceed in life. Like my mom has said to me before, she's like, you know, I had kids in my 20s, and obviously I absolutely love y'all, and that was like the greatest joy of my life was raising you all. But I love that you are in this season of your life where you and your friends just pick up and you guys go and you have experiences, and like, you know, it's so easy to just be like, okay, well, let's go out the country, or let's do this, let's do that. Like, you know, until that season in our life comes, I'm not going to sit around and just be like, here's my new book of the week.
Yeah.
I'll meet you at the church pew on Sunday. Like, it's not how it's going to work. Like, we out here living.
We have to. We have no choice. And I think people have to understand that my life may look a lot different than yours did at my age. I think that your life looked a lot different from mine. But we have to respect one another. We have to respect the growth of everybody. And we have to respect that we have to put those boundaries in place. And that is one of the many generational curses that we've talked about today that we have to put a stop to, because that is a whole generational curse in itself. The whole, you know, how things were, she always been that way. It's not okay, people, and we have to stop doing that. We have to be able to respectfully come to people and have those conversations. So I pose the question to you guys: when it comes to generational curses, what is the difference in a generational curse and just quote unquote shit we need to work on, and we blaming it on generational curses? Does anything stand out to you all there?
I think everything that we talked about is something that could be coin shit we need to work on, because what's stopping me and my family from having a real conversation and about conflict management and you know all the things that I talked about. Like realistically, there's nothing stopping us from doing it. That's some shit that we need to work on. Like, and the reason that we can't even have the conversation is because lack of communication.
Lack of communication.
It's nothing stopping us from doing it. And I think if it's something that you can really lean in on and say, there are easy ways we can fix this. Like I talked about with my mama, like, let me just tell her respectfully, like, I can't do this from noon to 3 on the phone with her. I can't do this.
Yeah.
I can respectfully have a conversation. So I think the stuff that I know, or changing your decision-making process, you know, another thing for my family is finances, how we handle. Nobody ever talked to me about money. Nobody, you know, ever set me down. And so, like, how can I fix that? Doing what you did, trying to get on this internet and Googling, and how do you fix credit? How do you do that? So if you know that's a deficit for you, recognizing it and doing something about it.
Doing something different.
Al Gore's internet saves the world, child.
Right. It works for everybody.
I do agree with you, Danielle, that when we talk about shit we need to work on in generational curses, they are another double Dutch twin. I think the biggest difference there is that the things that we call generational curses are indeed shit we need to work on. I think if we disassociate them from each other, shit we need to work on sometimes can get pushed to the side. So I feel like it's about whether or not we take an active approach versus a passive approach and really put steps in place to work on the shit we need to work on, which are indeed our generational curses.
Right.
I think that is how we come to heal. I think the biggest piece between the two is the action behind it.
The action behind it. And I think it's mandatory for you to have the action behind it before, what the podcast is all about, before you get into a relationship. And it's going to be ongoing. It's not to say that once you get into a relationship or a marriage that all the curses and the issues are just gonna disappear. That's not how it works. However, you have to have identified what the generational curses are, what the behaviors look like, what it is that you have to improve and work on, so that you don't walk into a situation that is a whole generational curse, because you have not identified what it looks like, and this man has shown you all the things, or this man or woman is showing you all these red flags and all these things, but you are not in tune with yourself and what that really looks like. So you walk into this storm, and then you're trying to figure out how you got there. Or you walk into it and you identify, but you don't communicate with your partner about it, and you find out he has a lot of the same issues that you might have had, but guess what? He or she ain't done no work on it. So you walking into a relationship with a 38-year-old man that's still suffering from some 8-year-old trauma.
And if they recognize it, number one, and two, that they're taking an active approach to do it. Because sometimes and I've experienced this where a man will tell you this is what kind of was going on in my house, or this is how I grew up, or whatever. They can oftentimes acknowledge
and
what
verbalize
those
it.
things are, but when you ask what work are you doing, is none.
I let them be. Man, I don't even fool my family like that, or I let them
That's
deal
a
with it,
deal breaker.
or man, I don't even know, man, I ain't really thought about it. Well, you not about to think about me,
Yeah,
like
because though I say none of us have the perfect family structure, if you can't come and mix into my family, and we can't, because at the end of the day, they with me.
And two, you have to understand that if we know that, I'll just say communication is the biggest issue I'm working on with my family, and we've made strides, and me and my family are doing good. And then I get with you and I get around your family, and it's hell, because hopefully the man we're going to bring us together. No, I'm not going to be going to your Thanksgiving every year after I have worked through the trauma on my side. Now I got to go sit in your shit.
And y'all throw sweet potato pies at each other.
And y'all not even trying to work on it. Y'all really think this dysfunction is okay. And then when I come in with my sage and shit, y'all looking at me like, what's wrong with her? Or like, why your wife don't never want to come for Thanksgiving? Sir,
because everybody over here looking like they've been sucking on
it's not me, it's y'all.
It's y'all.
But I'll tell you what, and this is something that I have really just started to think about in the last couple of years, probably last year. But I am more particular now. I mean, obviously, I'm just dating out here having fun.
Yeah.
But as I just having fun, you should have caught that shoulder.
Yeah.
But as I am thinking about the next relationship that I want to enter, obviously when that time comes, that I am very purposeful about wanting that man to have had a relationship with his mother and his father modeled for him.
Yeah.
I think
and it's nothing wrong with
asking not necessarily that it's his mom and his dad, maybe stepmom, stepdad, but you've seen a loving relationship that's been close to you.
Yeah.
Not your nana and your pop and they was that old love, but that you actually can see what marriage and partnership looks like, and that you're able to know that you're not coming from a broken and unhealthy place where you don't even know how to be in a relationship. It's that whole nigga I love you, I want to be with you, but when we break it down, you ain't never seen your mama with nobody, and you don't know
never
how to
seen
treat
nobody with nobody.
Yeah, you ain't never seen your daddy with nobody, or your daddy was running the streets and he had this one and that one and this one and that one, and how that affects how you feel like your relationship with women is. So for me, it's very important in the next stage of whatever relationship I choose to enter, is that there is a solid foundation for what you've seen, that you've had it modeled for you.
Yeah.
That you've seen a woman and a man in a loving relationship.
Yeah.
And how that they're able to raise family.
I like that. And I think it's something people should think about. What were you saying, Danielle?
I don't know if I would say, because some people haven't seen it. Like I told y'all, I can't pinpoint a healthy, close husband-wife relationship that I think that was modeled for me. I was raised by my great grandmother, and when my great grandfather passed away, I was very young. So I mean, I remember little things, but nothing, significant to make me be like, oh wow, that's the, kind of marriage. I know they were married for a long time. That don't mean it was healthy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I've never seen a healthy marriage up close. Yeah. So when DJ and I started dating, we talked about family dynamic. We talked about the things that we had experienced or we hadn't experienced, and everything that he said to me, he followed it up with, I've never seen that, but here's what I want. You know what I'm saying? It was not shit, I'm just out here, I don't even know what a husband looks like.
Yeah, he had put some thought
I've never seen this. Yeah. But here's what I want in my wife, and here's what I think is important for a husband to have, and here's what I'm not going to do because I saw X, Y, and Z. You just can't resolve to dysfunction. Yeah. And so,
and not using it as an excuse to if you hadn't
be
seen it.
I don't even know what that look like. Okay, so what are you doing to find out? What that looks like.
And the good thing about what that sounds like for you guys, you and Darius have done your own work to get there.
Yeah, to get there.
You're calling that man, Bisha. He ain't no man. People on the podcast. Who is Darius? I said, girl, that's my husband.
The same way that a man can get online to see when the next J's come out, whenever release date is, you can get online or get in life and talk to people to get that same experience. Because I like the perspective that Kirsten has. I don't think I'll fall in line with that, because I do think, like you said, you and DJ did, that you guys, I want to be with somebody, if they don't have that example or haven't seen it up close, that we can talk through it and we can create our own traditions in our own family. I think about, I was raised by my grandparents and my mom, but I think about, like, for instance, when I walk down the aisle, I want my mom to walk me down the aisle, because that's who's still on this earth that raised me. So just creating your own traditions in that way. What does that look like? What, what family structure do you want to have? Because, you can see some parts of a relationship. Like you said, I get the overall loving gesture. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
But it's like you have to give and take. You have to take from it what you can, because nobody's stuff is going to be perfect.
Right.
But I think it's essential for, if you have the idea of what Kirsten said, or if you feel otherwise, that you are just communicating these things to your partner and not just allowing them to be and give you excuses. Like you said, I ain't never seen it before. I don't know what to do. We'll just figure it out. No. It's too many tools, resources, and other, things that you can put in place to be successful in those areas. But it is essential that you talk about those things.
The older you get, as you like, want to be married or be in a long-term relationship with somebody, like, people are who the fuck they are. You know what I'm saying?
They are.
At this stage.
I heard what the dude I just found about Jay Shetty, somebody else, he said he's some kind of relationship person. I saw him on the Red Table Talk. And he said, when people show you, it's something like about to show you who they are. When people paint themselves a certain way, don't try to change the color.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, so if this man or woman is telling you, I ain't never seen that, and they can't tell you one thing that they're doing to not be whatever that negative interpretation
if their father wasn't there and they're not doing one thing to be present,
then leave them the fuck alone. Because let me tell you something, that's hard to change at 40, because it's hard to change at 33.
It is.
leave them hoes where they at, okay?
Yeah,
because that's hard to change. And women, we go in for the hope of, like, oh well, we'll just figure it out as we go along. No, have the conversation and ask this man, where does he stand in his family? What is his stance on family and raising children and all of this? Because you're talking about some repeats, some shit. He may have seen some stuff in his childhood or experienced some stuff that, it's okay for the daddy to walk in and, come off the top rope and choke slam the daughter like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, that's okay. Because my daddy did my sister like that. And you may have a whole nother take on, like, discipline. So you have to talk about every little thing. If not, you start repeating the same shit that you're trying to get away from. And the older you get, it's harder to change folks' perspective on, this thing. People change every day. Yeah, we do. But who you are to your core, 30 plus.
Yeah, who you are to your core. That's who you're going to be. And you have to pay attention, like you just said, because one of my friend girls pointed out to me, a guy I was dealing with, he kind of had told me about his home life and his relationships with his father and his mom and certain things that his parents did. And when she started saying certain stuff, I started thinking, this brother is exactly who his daddy is. And it was things that I was not a fan of. And so it was like, I had never even connected the dots. So I'm saying all that to say, on top of what Danielle just said, you have to pay attention. And when you wake up and you see what these people are doing and you see who they are, accept them right then. Like we said on many episodes ago, if you have a person that's at a level 5 and you see that is where they are you okay with them staying at that level 5?
Are you okay? Level 5,
you cannot proceed based on potential or what they could potentially be. I'm so glad I have been delivered from the potential flaws and the change flaws.
When I get in that elevator, the elevator has the potential to take me to the penthouse.
Yeah.
It has the potential to take me in the motherfucking basement.
Yes.
So potential does not matter. It don't equate for nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. So, I mean, you can have potential, but be blessed in the Lord on your journey.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't mean that it can be with you.
It does not mean
I'm above this now. It's above.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is above.
So do you feel like, say if you have a conversation with a potential partner and, you're doing the healing work with your family and you all have, made strides you're working on, or even if you just started the process and you come to a potential partner and you find that through conversations that he has a lot of generational curses that are strong, but he doesn't really care about them and is not trying to do anything about it. Is that a deal breaker?
That is.
Hell yeah.
For me. Because excuse me, because if you're not taking like an active step to try to like figure out, because if my plan is to like really be with you, like we're really gonna be with each other, that's like that unity candle. Like your stuff is coming to me, my stuff, we're gonna create new stuff, and I don't want that hell to come down the line and touch my children. So you know,
because then I'm setting up a new generational curse
of craziness. You know, and it's so like, it's funny because we talk about like, I think of the people that I know, they're like married and like elders, or like my grandparents, my great aunts and stuff like that. But like for another generation, it's like my sister and her husband, like watching them and how they like parent. And you know how you say like with boys, like our not generation, but like I feel like our community is always like, you know, boys don't cry, you know, suck it up. And you know, when my nephew, I watched one time I was there, my nephew was like really frustrated because he couldn't figure out a toy and he started crying. And instead of the standard like don't whine, like don't stop cry, suck it up, that kind of thing, my sister was just talking to him, okay, it's a brand new toy, it's gonna take you a minute to figure it out, you have to have a little bit of patience, you're a very smart boy, so we're just gonna work this through with practice. Are you good? And he's like, no, I'm still crying. She said, that's fine. So you're going to take a minute in the bathroom. You're going to get it out. I want you to be cool. So, you know, like
just a different approach.
Just approach.
Like, it's okay. You can cry. I'm not mad. It's not shut up, you know.
And just giving him the space to like truly gather his emotions.
And encourage him in the process. And that's what you want. Absolutely. Because, you know, and that goes to another thing. And I had a conversation with my niece today, and it's when I think about generational curses, sometimes generational stigma is there. And, you know, this day and age, we don't really use the word, you know, the F word, or the R word, you know, R. Kelly. No, I'm playing.
I know what you're talking about.
But you say,
my eyebrows twitched. I was like, what you talking about?
But no, when we talk about the LGTB, I don't want to say it wrong, community.
LGBTQIA.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. But when we talk about people, you know, being gay, and in Black families growing up, it was a bad thing. And so I was just having a conversation with my niece today, and we were talking about, you know, we sometimes growing up, your parents say like, I always knew he had a little sugar in his tank or a little stuff, you know, calling kids bull daggers and dykes and stuff like that. And I really just had a conversation with her today. I was like, honestly, if I had a child and he or she was gay, I do not care.
Nope.
I don't care, because that is your relationship. Trust me, if you were a man or a woman, you're gonna go through hell regardless. So I can't protect you from that. But I want you to be happy. I want you to be with somebody that loves you, and I want you to just be safe in this world. Anything, I would just be concerned about how you may get treated from the world. Because this is a cold and a crazy place. But that goes back to what you were saying about how your sister handled that situation with her son a lot differently than what generations before us would have. And when it comes to people and their sexuality and, you know, things of that nature, it's just one of the many examples that we can give. Like, for me, I just don't attach a stigma to it. And I'm sure some people say, well, it'll be different when you have a child. No, right now, if anybody was to tell friends, family, whoever, your sexuality or religion, orientation, any of that, how are you being treated in this world, and how are you treating people?
A whole happy human being is like first priority.
That's what you want. That's what we want. And I think that's a huge part of the curse as well, to recognize that just because, you know, you were taught that boys don't cry, that, you know, it's okay if he wants to cry. It's certain things that, you know, from the top to the bottom, that we have to be able to recognize that are different, have changed, that we are going to do things differently, even if the parent may not approve of that or have something to say about it.
And I think that goes back to when we talk about is supported, because there are so many adult men who are out here who have not processed emotions. I was watching Ayanla, you know, a couple of episodes ago, and it was just like, you're so hung up and tight in your chest. She was talking to a man. I mean, and this is a full adult. You know, you so tight in your chest because you holding on to something that happened or was said to you, or a way you felt at 6, 7, 8 years old. So I think that, like, I love the approach like that my sister took with him, because I can see at this age, like, he is learning how to process emotions.
How to process emotions.
Like that, he's not going to be a 40-year-old man out in the world that
saying
doesn't
know I can't cry.
To communicate. And I think generationally that's something, because you will have, you know, grandpa or uncle or so-and-so, that's not what a man looks like. You're not going to cry. You're not going to do this, that,
or they just don't know how to communicate. They can't communicate their emotions. And that's why you run into a brick wall when you try to talk to them about something or deal with something, because they feel like, man, we just don't, let time go by and act like it didn't happen. Or I don't want to talk about that. Or, I don't want to be emotionally about, or you meet these emotionally unavailable men. Child. So it's a whole case in point there. So all of that absolutely goes into generational curses and boundaries. And we will be right back with the resolution. And now this brings us to the Montana Minute. And for today's Montana Minute, I just really want to say, I hope that the conversation that we had today around this subject matter is one that you can share with your friends or family or whoever needs to hear it, to start to open up those lines of communication. If you know that there are generational curses that need to be broken, if you know that there are boundaries that need to be set, if you just know that you want to do something different in your family that has never been done before, I encourage you to have your family members listen to this episode, be honest with themselves, and see if this can spark the conversation for you guys to do something that you've never done before. It is up to you to make the change that you want to see in the world, and I hope that this episode can aid you in doing so. So as we leave you to decide, even though this episode was a bit different, it still has an impact on your relationships. So always, I leave you to decide to be single or not to be. Signing off, Shanna Montana.